As a business, you have to look for a बॉस ये प्रॉब्लम है जो क्लाइंट समझता है, हाँ पैसा देगा, हाँ करो.
Yeah. And the addition which I wanted to make, and this is from a seed stage investor's perspective, right? Often when founders come to investors, they will get money for doing X, and X doesn't work.
Yes.
And then there is long time when the business is on the ventilator.
Correct.
You're still getting the quarterly reports,
Yeah.
updates, etc.
Yes.
You still
Yes.
have once in a while you pick up the phone and call them, support them, whatever counseling.
Correct.
So what should investors do during that phase after what they obviously gave the check because the founder told them that I'm going to do this, but this is not working out.
Right.
And like you said, multiple experiments they are running, but there is that maybe multiple year period when they're still figuring out, okay, this is where we have the market fit.
Right.
So what role should investors play in that period?
So I'll go a step back. I would go a step back and say the investor's role starts well before that, when they identify the right founder to invest in. Yes. An ideal founder, see, I think we have to accept one thing: no investor wants to run a company. Because he's invested in maybe 50, 100, 150 companies. Yeah. There is no way he can, and he does not have the expertise to run these companies, right? The founder has to run the company. But when the investor invests, it should be in a company where the founder is willing to listen, where the founder realizes it's a partnership and we have to work together. So I will get ideas, possible solutions from the investor. I have to at least think about it. Maybe implement some of them, may not, but I have to be willing to at least consider them. अगर वो फाउंडर में नहीं है तो ही इज द रॉन्ग फाउंडर, राइट? सिमिलरली अगर इन्वेस्टर में एटीट्यूड ये है कि बॉस मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ यही तुमको करना है, ही इज अ रॉन्ग इन्वेस्टर फॉर यू. सो इट हैज टू बी द राइट इन्वेस्टर, द राइट फाउंडर. पहली बात. नाउ having got the right founder for the investor, when a situation like this happens, if it's a right founder, like I said, he's flexible, you have to spend time, try and figure out jointly what the solution could be, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whether you need to pivot, whether you need to spend much more on marketing. Yeah. If you have to spend more on marketing, or do you have to modify the product? Is it that you have to talk to the customer? Very often, the founder is neck deep in his company. He doesn't even know. He cannot think beyond the obvious.
Yeah.
And the investor comes with hopefully a lot of experience and he can share. So I'm saying that is the time when the investor really is required. कि बॉस अब ये ट्राई करो. Frankly, Kulmani, there will be many situations where no matter what you try, it will fail and ultimately you have to close down the company. वो भी होगा. But at least you can try multiple things. उसमें partnership चाहिए. And the founder has to be willing to listen to the investor, and the investor also has to respect the founder कि बॉस इसको कंपनी चलानी है, but let me give my views.
Yeah.
So whether it is bringing in his networking, whether it is bringing in potential clients, whatever, वहाँ इन्वेस्टर की जरूरत है. जहाँ सब कुछ सक्सेसफुली चल रहा है वहाँ इन्वेस्टर का रोल कम हो जाता है.
I think from founder's side, they need to be a good listener.
Yes.
When investors are talking to them.
Absolutely.
Obviously, investors have given their hard-earned money to them.
Correct.
And second is, even if they're going to reject, like you say, they need to listen. And then second is, they need to have empathy also.
Yeah.
They need to understand that this money has been accumulated because of hard work, and now the questions are being asked, so those questions are right.
No, valid. At the same time, even the investor needs empathy because the founder is going through a tough time.
Yeah.
Very tough time. In fact, the investor has lost some money, but that's a small fraction of the total money he has. The investor, has lost everything if it's doing badly. So the founder has lost everything. So the investor must realize that just criticizing the guy is not okay. Help him, empathize with him, be a friend.
Yeah. And time.
And time.
Yeah, because
Give
he's
him time.
investing 100%
Sure.
of the time,
Sure.
right? An investor may
Time,
be
bilkul.
doing it in 10.
Bilkul, bilkul.
Yeah. Then you also mentioned about customer money versus investor money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what is that framework and why should founders think about it?
That is something which I picked up from Sanjeev Bikhchandani. So I must give him credit.
So talk about your relationship with Sanjeev, because I think you talk about him in all the books.
He's a brilliant guy.
So how did you
He's a
meet him?
great guy. I first was on there was a panel discussion many, many years ago. I think it must have been 20 years ago. Okay,
Wow.
maybe more than that. I was a professor at MDI, and Sanjeev had just launched his company. And
Okay.
Naukri was chota sa tha, nothing much, not really well known. So because I was a professor, I was chairman of my department or whatever, it sounded big. तो मेरे को पैनल का chair बना दिया. Okay, and Sanjeev was one of the people on the panel.
Okay.
And I would ask him questions and he would get back. And I realized he had a very, very, very practical bent of mind, very clear head and very, very practical. Then I started meeting him more and more. And the more I met him, the more I spent time with him. I've also been to his house. I realized he's a very unique individual. So he has absolutely no airs about talking about his failures. Absolutely no air. Very open. Outstandingly ethical. Outstandingly ethical. He is the guy who, said this. Because if the customer money comes in, that means you're getting customers, that means you're doing well, that means you're growing. And then if you need investor money later on, the investor says, "Theek hai, you're growing, revenues are growing, we'll put in more money." But if you're only getting the investor money and not the customer's money, your revenues are not growing, that is the end of investor money. Right? So the customer's money, he said this in the context of, unfortunately, there is this bhed chal. Founders say, boss, मेरे को series B raise करनी है. And, valuation has to be this, etc. $2 million or whatever. That's the wrong focus. The focus is your business. And your business is, are you getting customers? Are they increasing quarter on quarter? Are the same customers coming back? Are you getting repeat customers? Because if that happens, then your funding, if you need it, will automatically happen. Whereas if you're only chasing funding and not chasing the customer, your funding will stop because your customers stop. So I think it's a great insight into the mistake that most founders make. Don't chase funding, chase your business.
And the investors are anyways screening, right? So they will find you.
They'll find you. Correct. Correct. Exactly.
And the word gets around.
Exactly, boss. It's a small world.
Yeah.
If you're doing well, investor अपने आप आ जाएंगे, भागे भागे आएंगे.